Hey guys, welcome back. So today I wanted to get into organizing my own samples, but I actually thought this could be a great opportunity to teach you how I set up kind of a template or a beginner project. That way every time I open it up, I have everything set up exactly the way I want it. And then I don't have any legwork that I have to do, plugging in this, plugging in that. I'm just immediately ready to go. The inspiration has hit me and I can just plug in what I feel. And then after we do our template, then I'll show you how I set up my sampler instruments. I have many sample packs, probably hundreds of kicks, 100 808s, something like that. So I don't really like the drag and drop method of samples. I actually like to put my samples through the EXS24 sampler in Logic, and that way I can play them using the keyboard. Some people are fine with the drag and drop method, but I like to actually be able to play my samples because as someone who plays instruments, I feel my music more through the rhythm than I do just laying it out. Then I also might take some time to explain how the EXS24 sampler works. There are 3 samplers in Logic overall, and why do I choose this one? It's actually probably the second best out of the 3. It really just has to do with convention. It's the fact that it's the one I'm the most used to. The first best, Alchemy, has some interesting functions that don't exist in EXS24. But I also feel that EXS24 has a few functions that don't really exist as well in Alchemy. So here we go. Template, then organizing samples, and then a little EXS explanation. So the first thing you can see is I actually just wanted to start from scratch even though I already have a template. That way I can show you how to build yours. This is a completely new project. So what I might start with first is actually just creating a couple audio tracks. We have one audio track now. If you hit Command D on your keyboard, you'll create another of the same kind of track. It will actually copy over all your EQ, all of your effects chains as well. So make sure that it is the exact track that you want to copy over. I need software tracks in here too. I know I'm probably going to need a lot of those. So I go ahead and click the plus, get software instruments. These are going to be all of your samplers, keyboards, basically almost all of my drum hits. The only thing I need audio for is going to be samples or recording instruments. Okay, we created another. It gives us electric piano as the default instrument here. That's fine, we can leave it as such. And now I'm just going to Command D a bunch of these. I don't know exactly how many I need right now, but we'll start laying it out. So I'm going to start at the bottom actually. And first I put my hi-hat, which I just designate as HH. Hi-hat's going to be EXS. It's going to come from a sampler. So I just open it up. I just get it set up there and then leave it. Next, I'm going to do, say, kick. Kick's also going to be EXS. You know what I should have done? Let's go back. We can leave one of those though for an Alchemy. Why not just copy the one that already has the EXS in it? That's a good way to do it. Okay. So hi-hat, maybe we got one for perks, for percussion. Any extra percussion that I might add in. We need one for snare. One for claps. Usually I'll only use one, the snare or the clap, but I don't know which one it's going to be, and I'd like it to already be set up. It's easier to just delete it when you don't need it than it is to have to build it back up, right? Rather have it not need it than need it not have it. Okay, what's something else we could use here? OH. Maybe open hat and effects, something like that, extra. Another one, crash cymbals, or some kind of cymbals. You could call it whatever you want. Another one I can think of is 808. Now with this one up here, I'm going to actually change this one to Alchemy. So Alchemy is actually like a synth. It has a ton of presets. It is the best synth for sure in the entire Logic platform. But it also has sampler features as well. So since we're going to need some kind of keys or melody instruments, I'm going to open up one of these maybe we'll do number 2 as well. We'll copy that again. And I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's a keyboard or a guitar yet, so I'm just going to call them instrument 1 and 2. Audio, I don't know what it is yet, so I'm going to leave it as audio. When I know if I'm playing a bass or guitar, I'll change it, but for now, I'll just leave it open as an audio track. So next what we need to do is we need to connect all of these instances in each of these tracks of our EXS. We need to connect them with the appropriate instrument. So, starting with kick, I come to my EXS and open it up. Right here you will find all of your instruments that you've ever created. As you can see, I have a giant list of them. These range from one-off sounds, entire collections of samples, things I've used for different reasons, even some vocal samples and stuff. Here's a capital kit. This has kick, clap, and snare. So I'll choose this one. If we go to edit, we can even see what's in it. So these are all the kicks. Got them all set up here on my keyboard. Claps or snares. Claps. Snares. So this allows me when a beat is going on, maybe the melody's playing, and I can just punch in any snare. I have all the snares at my possibility. A lot of times when a melody's playing, I don't particularly know what snare is going to sound good. So hearing that snare by itself tells me nothing. I need to hear that snare over the beat. So I like to have 30 snares laid out in front of me to choose from. So kick, clap, snare. Now to keep in that same order, we'll go snare. We'll choose kick, clap, snare. We'll go clap, we'll choose kick, clap, snare. Now I saw Open Hat FX. I saw there was another kit there for it. So capital kit, perk, Open Hat FX. Choose that one. And let me show you this one too. So, oh wow. Open hat. Different open hats to use, and effects. This is gonna be loud. So now, what have we not set up? Crash. Let me go find. I think I have a cymbals or crash. Oh, here we go. So this instrument has a bunch of cymbals lined up. So then I'm set up with 20 different cymbals right there on that. 808. For this one, I might change my 808 depending on the sound of the song and whether I want a long 808, short, distorted, or not, right? So I'll just set like a general one. Like I think this one's pretty good. There we go. Okay. Also for 808, this will make more sense later, but I go ahead and I set it to legato, meaning only one note at a time can play. I pull my glide up somewhere around 100. Doesn't matter too much. I will fidget with that depending on the song. And I even give it a little bit of release, which just lets it fade out a little longer so it doesn't end quite so abruptly. Those are just my general 808 settings. Perk needs to be set up. Capital perk. Hi-hats, like the 808, have a whole bunch of different ones. Why is this? Why did I not put all of my hi-hats on a key so I could have 30 hi-hats in front of me? The reason here has to do with pitch. You want just one hi-hat per keyboard. That way you can pitch it, and then when it does quick triplets or quick 16ths, you can have it go up and down in pitch, right? I'll show you that. Let's see, let's just choose a random one. So C3 is its normal pitch. As you can see, it's pitch. And those pitch sounds on the hi-hat are very important to trap, but they also make any kind of electronic song sound more interesting. Another thing I could do is if I know what instrument is going to generally be played there, I could set up the EQ a little bit. So firstly in the 808, I know in the 808 that I'm not going to need a lot of this at least, so I'll just go ahead and do that. I also know with my 808 that I like to cut off a little bit of the low end. This rumble is a little too much usually. I know in the hi-hat beforehand that I'm not going to need a lot of this low end. I know in the snare and the claps I'm not going to need a lot of low end. And then some of the others I leave alone. A crash or a weird effect or a certain instrument, you don't necessarily know where on the frequency spectrum that instrument's going to lie, so I go ahead and just kind of leave those open and I'll modify them more later. Another option you have too is to go ahead and add sends in if you want, or build the sends that you like. But I have a small reverb and a big reverb installed on these, so if I know that an instrument's probably going to want reverb, then I go ahead and just add that in there. Hi-hat probably could use a little bit of small reverb, maybe a little less big reverb. I create a side chain on bus 4, and I also like to add this plugin wider to 5. So on bus 5, I'm going to add in Infected Mushroom Wider. This is a plugin that really just adds saturation and panning to instruments. Bus 4, and on the kick, and I turn it all the way up. And why is this? Because this is going to be my sidechain channel. So on my 808, I can add a compressor and go ahead and just quickly plug in the sidechain up here, bus 4, that's my kick. Awesome. And I turn these up a little bit, turn the attack down, release up. Yeah, just kind of set that up generally. So at this point, I'm ready to say, okay, this is a pretty good template to start with. So I just go up to File, Save As. So then I'm going to name this Start a Beat. Whatever you want to name your template, that's fine. Save it. Alright, so since I saved it as a project and not as a template, this means you could end up accidentally saving over it. So one important rule is you bring up the Start a Beat project or your template project, you bring it up, you start making something and you're enjoying it. At that point that you notice that you're enjoying it or you want to keep it, then go to File, Save As, and give it a new name. I've had a couple times that I just click save and then I accidentally saved that stuff on my template and I had to go in and fix that. I had to do a save as and then erase all the stuff off of my template. Not a huge deal, but something worth remembering. So now I feel like my old sampler keys here are getting a little old. I want to put all my favorite kicks on one keyboard, all my favorite snares on one keyboard, and I'm going to take you along with me for that. I can actually get rid of this right now and come over to my project when I normally will be open here showing what's been in the project. There should be nothing on your template to begin with, and I'm going to do select unused and just get rid of these because they're not supposed to be there anyway. I go into all files and let's start with the kick first. So I'm going to look at my go up here to kick instrument. Now I don't really want to change this one, I'll keep this one the same. And one big reason why you keep this the same is because any song that you've previously made with this instrument, if you move any of it around, it will go back in and try to find it, but it will be in a different place now, and all of the songs that you previously made with that instrument won't play right, and you'll have to do a lot of work to fix them up. I've had that happen to me in the past, so try to avoid that. It's old, just keep it there as an old instrument, that's fine, and then just create a new instrument. So I go into Instrument, New, pull up an entirely blank slate here, and all my kicks. You may not have as many kicks as I do, or maybe more, but I know that the keyboard here in Logic is only so long, so I can't put everything that I would want on there. So I'll be a little more selective. So here I've got Cryptic, and drop it. No problem, even if it does this, I highlight them all, and I grab and drag them down. I make it work. Now I'll go to my end. Oh, but we got pitch in there. We'll have to take the pitch out once we're all done. Okay, I know that I want capital. That's actually probably the easiest way of doing it. And I will drag those into the, look at that. You can drag them into the key, huh? Just drop them on the key you want. Wow, we discovered a new trick, guys. Okay, so look at this. I can actually just drag on the key I want to start. And one note long, pop, nice, that's great. I have an arsenal of all great kicks. So it looks like when you go over the space, when you start going here and over your key limit, then it starts to layer them in. But you don't want that happening because then you're gonna have stacked on top of each other two kicks playing at the same time, which I do sometimes in songs. I want to make the decision of which ones are going to play at the same time. Okay, and the last thing we have to do before we save it is highlight them all and take off pitch. We don't want the pitch affecting it. Otherwise it will cause these to be low and these to be like super high, and you don't want that to sound high. It's a kick, it needs to have punch. So now we've got that. We want to go to Instrument, Save As, and I'm going to call all this new series Fave Kicks. We've got the instrument saved in there. So in any project now, I can access this Fave Kicks. See, I'll start another one just so you can see. Clap. I'll just go through them here. I won't be talking, I'll just be showing. New instrument. Over here, all my claps. And now I have a little bit left on the end, so I'm just going to kind of fill that in with things that I didn't use previously, just because I can. We do last thing, take off the pitch. You can hear right now actually. These get really high, and then these get really low, and you don't want to clap to sound low, that's weird. Save as, Fave Claps. And now you just follow suit and you do the same with everything. Most of the software tracks are going to be the same. You're going to have a whole sampler arsenal. But for me, one that is different is the 808 and the hi-hat. You want 808 and hi-hat samples to be pitched, so you're going to actually just drag one sample at a time, and I'll show you how to do that real quick too. Go into your 808 here. Got some stuff. There's a lot, but there's not all of them, definitely. So what I do is edit, new, go find an 808 that I don't have in there. Oh, I know we don't have Bang and C. So that, we'll delete out this one. Save as, let's call this Bang and C. There, now that one's saved in. And then whenever I go into my 808s, I should be able to find Bang and C. Ooh, and have it immediately deploy. And this actually brings me to my last thing, really, which is looking at the EXS24 in your 808, you can kind of understand some of these controls, you know, tuning. Control the tune of it. Of course, you want to keep it at 0 most of the time, but you know, if your sample's in D and you want it to be in C, you might have to drop it to -2. Glide. This glide controls how quickly it gets to the next note. So let's make it longer. You can hear that slide gets longer. Versus, let's make it super short. Almost instant. Usually I find that somewhere between 80 and 120 sounds pretty good for most bass lines. It's going to depend on the tempo of your song. Release is up. Release just is how long it's going to fade out for. I like to have a little bit of fade out, but it still ends pretty abruptly. And that's pretty much all you really need to understand as far as using 808. Make sure you're on legato or you won't get the glide effect. If it's on poly, it will just think you want to play 2 notes at the same time and it won't do the glide. Legato tells it 1 note and then 1 note, so it knows to glide. Unison sometimes can add a lot more to it. It's like a super distorted, super saturated version of it. Sometimes that can be useful if you just want like a really booming 808 on the one. And remember, when you're done, save your whole project. Alright guys, and that's about it. Now you built your own template to start with, and whenever you open up a project and you're feeling inspired, it'll be easy to just get immediately started and not have to worry about building everything up. Just drag in a sample and get started. Alright, happy beat making guys. See you next time.